The first time I heard the sounds, it was almost midnight on my wedding night, and the bed beside me was empty. The white dress I had worn only a few hours before was hanging on the closet door, shining in the dark like a ghost. The flowers on the nightstand were already starting to droop. My ring was still new on my finger, tight and strange, like it did not yet know it belonged to me. My name is Marvette Holloway. I am 56 years old, a grandmother of 3, born and raised in a small town outside Atlanta, Georgia. I have worked most of my life as a home health aide, cleaning other people's houses, taking care of their old parents, helping them sit up, bathe, eat, and stay alive a little longer. I know what it looks like when people stay. I know what it looks like when people leave. That night, my husband left. Before I tell you what I heard at midnight, let me talk to you for a moment. If you are listening to my story right now, please make sure you subscribe to this channel, like this video, and turn on your notifications so you never miss when I share another story from my heart. And in the comments, tell me where you are watching from, which state or city, so I know exactly who is sitting with me tonight. Now let me go back to that bed, that house, and that night. I lay on top of the covers in a long satin nightgown that the salesgirl said made me look 20 years younger. The room was quiet. Too quiet. The old clock on the dresser ticked loud in the dark, counting out my new life second by second. I stared at the empty part of the mattress where his body should have been. His name was Cassius Reed. 59. Smooth dark skin, gray at his temples, a deep voice that could make anything sound safe. When he asked me to marry him, I thought God was finally giving me back all the years I had lost. He had promised me we would start fresh together. No more lonely holidays. No more nights eating canned soup alone. No more pretending I did not hear my grown children arguing over who had time to call me back. But on our wedding night, my new husband was gone. He had left right after we came home from the little reception his niece put together in her backyard. My shoes were off. My feet were sore from dancing on that cheap plastic dance floor they rented. I still smelled like fried chicken and vanilla cake. The sun had just gone down when his phone rang. He looked at the screen and his whole face changed. The smile dropped. The lines around his mouth got tight. "Who is it, baby?" I asked, still smiling, still holding on to his jacket lapel like some lovesick teenager instead of a woman with grandkids in middle school. He pulled away from my hand. I saw it then, just for a second, that old look men get when they have one foot out the door. I knew that look. I had lived with that look. "It is nothing, Marv," he said. "Just a little problem I have to handle. I will be right back." Lock the door behind me. "Cassius, it is our wedding night," I whispered. "You cannot just leave." He kissed my forehead instead of my mouth. I noticed that too. He grabbed his keys from the coffee table and was gone before I could find more words. The front door closed. His car engine started. The sound faded down the street. I stood there in my new living room, in my new house, in my new life, with my stomach hollowing out piece by piece. Maybe it really was nothing, I told myself. Maybe a family emergency. Maybe money. Maybe something with his son he never liked to talk about. There were pieces of Cassius he kept in shadows, like old furniture pushed into a dark corner. I tried to be understanding. Good wives understand, I told myself. Good wives do not make trouble on the first night. So I showered. I changed into my nightgown. I smoothed the new sheets across the bed and lay down on one side, leaving space for him on the other. The clock ticked. The ice in the glasses downstairs melted. The house settled around me the way old houses do, with soft pops and sighs. 10 o'clock passed. Then 11. That was when the fear changed into something else. Not anger yet. Just a deep, old sadness. The kind that knows its way around my bones because it has lived there before. I thought about my first marriage, the way my ex-husband walked out one afternoon to buy a pack of cigarettes and never came back. I thought about the way people had looked at me then. Poor Marvette. Poor left woman. Poor fool. I did not want that name again. I pressed the back of my hand over my eyes and told myself I would not cry. The ring on my finger was cold against my face. Then, just a few minutes before midnight, the sounds began. At first, I thought I was imagining them. A faint scraping, like something heavy being dragged across the floor somewhere below me. I held my breath. The room went still. Even the clock seemed to wait. Then I heard it again. Scrape. Stop. Scrape. Stop. It was coming from downstairs. From the back of the house. From the side where Cassius kept that one door always locked. The door he had told me not to worry about. Storage, he said. Old tools and junk. I sat up slowly. The sheets slipped off my legs. The air felt colder, like someone had opened a window somewhere. Cassius, I called out, my voice small in the dark. No answer. Then, under the scraping, another sound broke through. A low moan. It was not the moan of someone in pain. Not exactly. It sounded like someone trying not to cry. A thick, broken sound pressed through a hand. I felt the hair on my arms stand straight up. Cassius, I tried again. Is that you? The moan turned into a sharp, choked sob. Then another sound joined it, a muffled thud, like a fist hitting a wall or a body bumping into something. I swung my legs over the side of the bed. My feet touched the cold wooden floor. The house that had seemed so pretty during the day now felt like something else. Something watching me. Maybe he came back and did not want to wake me, I told myself. Maybe he slipped into the house through the back door. Maybe he is hurt. Maybe he fell. The excuses marched through my head, but my body knew better. My body shook. I grabbed my robe from the chair and wrapped it tight around me. I did not bother with slippers. The floor creaked under my weight as I stepped into the hallway. The wedding pictures we had just hung earlier that afternoon lined the wall. In one of them, Cassius and I were laughing, our heads thrown back, cake on my nose. I touched the frame as I passed, as if the woman in the picture could give me strength now. The scraping grew louder as I reached the top of the stairs. So did the moans. Now I could hear a rhythm to them, a pattern. Scrape, moan, scrape, moan. Then that heavy thud again. I started down the stairs, one hand on the rail, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my neck. Halfway down, I smelled something sharp and sour, like bleach mixed with metal. My stomach turned. The living room was dark, but outside the street lamp pushed a thin gray light through the curtains. I could see the outline of the couch, the coffee table still covered with little plastic plates from the reception food we brought home, the half-empty champagne bottle on the floor. The sounds were not coming from there. They were deeper in the house. From the hallway. From behind that locked door. I moved toward it, each step careful and slow. I could see now that there was a thin line of light coming from under the door, a pale stripe on the hallway floor. As I got closer, I realized there was something under the other sounds. A whisper. Just below the moans and the scraping. A voice, low and rough, talked to someone. I could not catch the words at first. I stopped right in front of the door and pressed my ear against the wood. At first, all I heard was my own breathing. The rush of my blood in my ears. Then, clear as day, a woman's voice floated through the door. A woman I did not know. Please, Cassius, no more, she sobbed. Please, do not make me do this again. My whole body froze. Cassius. He was here. In this house. In that room. While I lay upstairs alone on our wedding night. The scraping stopped. The house held its breath with me. And then I heard something else. A sound so soft and wrong that my mind refused it at first. It was the thin, shaking cry of a child. Papa, please. My hand slid down the door until my fingers found the cold metal of the knob. I wrapped my hand around it, my ring tapping lightly against it. I had no idea that once I turned that knob and opened that door, nothing in my life, or in my family, would ever be the same again. I stood there with my hand on the doorknob, my fingers shaking so badly the metal clicked against my wedding ring. The voices on the other side went quiet, as if they somehow felt me standing there. My breath felt trapped in my chest. I kept reminding myself I was 56 years old, not some nervous little girl in her first apartment. I had lived through storms in my life. I had faced down a cheating husband, a miscarriage in my 20s, a son who only called when he needed money, and a world that taught women like me to swallow hurt and smile anyway. But nothing prepared me for the sound of that child's voice in my new husband's locked room on our wedding night. "Papa, please." I tightened my grip on the knob. For a moment, I did not move. I felt like the house itself was watching, waiting to see what kind of woman I truly was. A wife who closed her eyes or a woman who finally stepped into the truth. I turned the knob. It did not move. Still locked. From inside, I heard a scuffle, something scraping hard across the floor as if someone dragged furniture to block the door. Then a deep voice, low and warning. "Do not say another word. Cassius." That was him. I knew that voice like I knew the rhythm of my own breath. I heard it all over our home during the weeks before the wedding. In the kitchen when he hugged me from behind. On the porch at sunset when he promised me I would never feel alone again. But the way he sounded tonight was different. Cold. Sharp. Almost mean. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Still, I knocked. "Cassius," I whispered through the wood. "Open the door. Right now." Silence. Then soft sobbing. A woman's sobbing. A child's whimper. I pressed my forehead against the door. My throat tightened with something hot and angry. I had waited so many years for love to come back into my life. I had believed this man. I had given him my heart, my trust, my home. And tonight was supposed to be the beginning of peace for me. "Cassius, open this door." Nothing. Then footsteps shuffled inside, but instead of coming toward me, they moved away. I heard a heavy thud, then a muffled gasp, like someone was being pushed or held down. My fear snapped into something else. Anger. A clear, bright anger that rose up from the deepest place in me. All the years I spent quiet. All the times I let people walk over my heart. All the times I swallowed my pain like medicine. Something in me stood up tall. "Cassius Reed, you open this door or I swear to God I will call the police right now." The house went very still. Then, finally, his voice came through. "Marvette, go upstairs. Do not involve yourself in this." "Involve myself," I whispered. "I am your wife." He sighed heavily, the sound full of frustration, not fear. Like I was the inconvenience. Like I was the problem. "Marv, walk away. Now." I drew myself up, the way my grandmother taught me when I was a little girl standing on a porch in Georgia trying to defend myself from cousins who teased too much. "I am not walking anywhere until you open this door." I grabbed the knob again and shook it so hard the entire door rattled in its frame. But before I could slam my fist against it, before I could scream, before I could threaten him again, the sound inside the room changed. A loud, sharp cry from the child. A loud crash like something big fell. And the woman's voice crying out. "Stop, Cassius, stop." That was it. The moment everything inside me snapped. I ran to the kitchen. I did not even think. My hand moved on its own. I grabbed the biggest knife from the block, not because I meant to hurt anyone, but because I refused to be powerless in my own home. Not tonight. Not ever again. When I came back, I shoved the knife between the door and the frame. I twisted it hard until the old metal lock bent with a loud crack. The door swung open so fast it hit the wall. And there he was. Cassius stood in the middle of the room, his back to me, his shoulders heaving. His shirt was soaked with sweat. His breath came out in long, angry bursts. But it was what was behind him that made my whole world tilt. A woman sat on the floor, her clothes torn, her face bruised and swollen. She looked no older than 30. Her hands were tied with a rope so rough it had cut into her wrists. Beside her sat a little boy. No older than 5 or 6. His cheeks were wet with tears. His small body trembled. He reached for her, whimpering. And on the far wall, pushed into the corner like a forgotten thing, was a metal cage. A cage large enough for a person. My stomach turned. Cassius spun around when he heard me. His eyes were wild, the whites showing all around the irises. Marvette, get out of here. No, I whispered. What is this? Who are they? He moved toward me, but I did not back up. I lifted the knife, my hand steady even though my knees shook. Do not come near me. He stopped. For the first time, I saw something in his eyes that scared me more than the locked door had. Panic. Marv, baby, listen to me, he said, his voice cracking in a way I had never heard before. This is not what you think. I pointed the knife at the woman. Then the child. Then the cage. Tell me the truth, Cassius. Right now. He swallowed hard, sweat sliding down the side of his face. I am trying to protect them. Protect, I repeated. From what? He closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, there was a strange mixture of shame and rage inside them. From the people looking for them. A sharp chill ran through my body. What people, Cassius? What did you do? He stepped closer. I took a step back. My heel bumped into the doorframe. There was nowhere else for me to go. Marvette, please put the knife down. You are scared. You do not know the full story. If you do not tell me the full story in the next 10 seconds, I will scream loud enough that every neighbor on this street will run over here. His jaw tightened. The woman sobbed harder. The child clung to her arm. I counted. 1. Cassius shook his head. 2. He pressed his hands to his face. 3. The child whimpered again. 4. The woman whispered something I could not hear. 5. Cassius stared at me, his chest rising and falling fast. 6. He opened his mouth. 7. And then, right before I reached 8, before he could speak, before any truth could come out of his mouth, a loud crash came from outside the house. Like a car door slamming. Then another. Then footsteps. Fast. Heavy. More than one. The woman on the floor gasped. They are here, she whispered. Oh God, they found us. Cassius's eyes went wide. Marvette, get back upstairs right now. But I stayed frozen in place as the front door of the house shook like someone was trying to break it down. And I realized something terrible. Whatever was happening here tonight, it was only the beginning. The pounding at the front door shook the whole house, each hit stronger than the last. The walls felt like they were breathing, the floor vibrating beneath my bare feet. I stood there in my robe, holding a kitchen knife, staring at Cassius as he stared back at me with fear I had never seen on a man his size. The woman on the floor pulled her son close, pressing his face into her shoulder to keep him from seeing anything more. Her voice trembled as she whispered over and over, like a prayer she had memorized. They found us. They found us. Cassius snapped into motion, his voice sharp. Marvette, move away from the door. But I didn't move. Who is that? Who is coming here? He didn't answer. His eyes flicked toward the living room window, the outline of shadows passing by outside. At least 3 people. Maybe more. Another bang hit the door, this time cracking the wood near the lock. Cassius rushed forward and grabbed the heavy side table from the hallway, shoving it in front of the door. His hands shook as he pushed it into place. Throughout the house, every noise felt louder. The ticking clock. The crying child. My own breathing. It all mixed with the banging at the door until my chest felt too tight to hold it. Cassius, I said again. Tell me who they are. He turned toward me, his face split by fear and frustration. I was supposed to take care of this before you ever stepped foot in this house. You were not supposed to see any of this. See what I snapped. A kidnapped woman, a child, a cage in your basement, Cassius. You brought me into something dangerous without telling me. Before he could answer, the front door thudded again, nearly bending inward. A man's voice boomed from outside. Open this door right now, you have 30 seconds before we kick it in. The woman flinched like she had been struck. The boy whimpered against her chest. Please don't let them take us. Cassius moved closer to her, crouching down, his voice deep but gentle. I won't. I promise. My head spun. Promises. Disappearing. Locked doors. Midnight screams. What had I married? I stepped backward into the hallway, gripping the knife tighter, my heartbeat thundering in my ears. Cassius, I need you to tell me the truth. Who are these people? He stood slowly, his back straightening, his shoulders lifting as if preparing for a fight. They ain't normal folks, Marv. They are part of something old. Something violent. Something I tried to walk away from years ago. Before I could ask more, the sound of glass shattering exploded through the house. Someone had smashed the back window. Cassius cursed under his breath. They're coming in both sides. The woman cried out. The child clung to her tighter. I could feel my hands shaking, but I stood in place. Cassius, you better start talking, because my life is now tangled in whatever this is. He grabbed a metal pipe from behind a storage shelf near the basement door, gripping it like he had done it before. I used to run with a group. Dangerous men. Men who don't take orders from anyone but each other. Years ago, I helped someone escape from them. That woman. That boy. I pointed the knife at the woman. Her. He nodded once. They were supposed to die. I couldn't let that happen. So I hid them. I felt my chest tighten. In cages, Cassius. His jaw clenched. It was temporary. I didn't have time to build a safe room. Another crash echoed through the house. The back door shook as someone rammed their shoulder into it. Cassius stepped in front of the woman and child like a shield. My job was to keep them hidden until we could move them out of state. I didn't expect them to find us this soon. I swallowed hard. You should have told me before you married me. He met my eyes, and for a moment the hard man fell away. I thought I had more time. I thought I could fix things before they touched you. The front door cracked again. A piece of wood split and fell to the floor. The boy whimpered. Mama, I'm scared. His mother shook as she held him. It's okay, baby. It's okay. I stepped beside them, lowering myself to her level. What's your name? The woman's voice cracked. Neria. And this is my son, Lowell. Neria and Lowell. Names I had never heard before. Names that suddenly felt like the center of everything collapsing around us. Cassius spoke fast. Marvette, I need you to take them upstairs to the back bedroom and lock the door. Don't come out unless you hear me say your name twice. Not once. Twice. And what will you be doing? I asked. He lifted the metal pipe. Buying us time. The back door thudded again. Harder. The glass in the kitchen trembled. I shook my head. Cassius, this is madness. These men sound armed. This isn't something you can fight alone. His voice softened. Baby, I don't need to win. I just need to hold them off long enough for you three to get out of the house if things go bad. Before I could argue, the front door finally gave way. It burst inward with a deafening crack, splinters flying across the floor. The side table slid back a few inches from the force. Standing in the doorway were three men. All dressed in black. Faces hard. Eyes cold. The man in front stepped inside, his boots heavy on the floor. He had a scar running across his cheek and hands that looked like they were used to hurting people. He looked directly at Cassius. You thought you could hide them forever, old friend. Cassius stepped forward, pipe tight in his hand. They aren't yours to take. The scarred man smirked. Everything is ours to take. Before anyone could move, one of the men behind him reached into his jacket. I didn't think. I grabbed Neria's arm. Pick up your boy. Now. She lifted Lowell with strength I didn't know she had left. Come on, I whispered. We sprinted toward the stairs as the scarred man shouted. Do not let them get away. Cassius yelled. Go, Marvette, go. Then the house exploded with chaos. A crash. A shout. Something slamming into the wall. But I didn't dare look back. We reached the top of the stairs just as a loud bang echoed from below. It sounded like someone had been thrown into furniture. Neria stumbled, almost dropping Lowell. "Mama, I'm scared." I grabbed the child under his arms and lifted him, pushing him into Neria's arms gently but firmly. "Keep going. Don't stop." We reached the hallway. The back bedroom was only a few steps away. But before we made it inside, a shadow moved at the bottom of the stairs. One of the intruders had broken away from the fight. And he was coming up after us. Slow. Steady. A sick smile on his face. Neria froze. "No. No. No." I pushed her into the room, shoving her and the boy through the doorway. "Get inside." But before I could close the door behind us, the man took one step closer and said something that froze the blood in my veins. "You can run all you want. But we didn't just come for them. We came for you too, Marvette." I stared down the hallway at him, my breath caught in my chest. He knew my name. My full name. And that meant only one thing. This wasn't just Cassius's past anymore. It was now mine. The man's voice crawled up my spine like ice. Hearing my name come from his mouth felt like someone reached into my life and turned all the lights off. The stairway behind him was dark, but his outline looked too calm, too certain, like he knew everything that would happen next. Neria pulled Lowell deeper into the room. I pushed them both behind me and stood in the doorway, blocking the man's view of them. My hand tightened around the handle of the knife until my fingers ached. "How do you know my name?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He smiled like he enjoyed my confusion. "We know everything about you, Marvette Holloway." Cassius made sure of that. A sharp pain shot through my chest. "Cassius told you about me." "Not exactly," he said, taking another slow step up the stairs. "He told the wrong person once, and that was enough. People talk when they are scared, when they owe money, when they try to run from what they promised. He made a mistake, and here we are." Behind him, downstairs, loud crashes shook the house again. Cassius was still fighting someone. Maybe two someones. Every hit echoed through the walls like the house was crying. I swallowed hard. "You do not want to do this. You have no idea what is going on here." He laughed. A cold, rolling laugh that made my knees weak. "Actually, I know exactly what is going on. And I know exactly what we came to collect." He stepped onto the top stair. "Move out of the way, Marvette." I did not move. I lifted the knife just enough so he saw the steel catch the hallway light. "I am not letting you touch this woman or this boy. Not one step farther." He tilted his head, studying me. "You do not look like a fighter. You look like someone who should be asleep by 9 and drinking tea." My heart pounded. "Try me." Behind me, Neria whispered, her voice tight with fear. "Please close the door. Please." But I stayed there, rooted to the floor, because if I closed that door, we would have no idea what he was doing. If he broke through it, we would be trapped with no escape. The man took one more step, his boots landing fully on the hallway floor. "This is your last warning." But what stopped him was not my knife. It was the sound of something heavy crashing downstairs, followed by Cassius shouting in a voice filled with pure fire. "Get away from them." A scream followed, sharp and sudden. Then something metallic fell. Footsteps pounded through the house. A scuffle. A thud. The man on the stairs froze for a split second and looked over his shoulder, distracted. That was all I needed. I grabbed the nearest thing in the hallway besides the knife, a thick wooden picture frame, and threw it at him with all the strength inside me. It hit him square in the neck. He stumbled back and grabbed the rail. "What the?" I didn't wait. I slammed the bedroom door shut, locked it, and shoved the dresser in front of it as fast as I could. Neria grabbed Lowell and crouched in the far corner, rocking him gently even though her hands trembled. Is he coming in here?" "Not yet," I said, pushing the heavy dresser farther. "But he will try." Lowell buried his face in his mother's neck. "Mama, I want to go home." Her voice broke. "So do I, baby." The door trembled. Once. Twice. Then a fist hit it hard enough to rattle the frame. Open this door, Marvette. I stepped back, gripping the knife again. Don't answer him, Neria whispered. Another bang. Then another. The dresser shook. My heart beat so fast I felt dizzy. He shouted, his voice full of rage. Cassius is not going to save you. None of you are getting out of this house. I swallowed hard. Neria, is there any way out of this room? She shook her head. No window big enough. Just a small one near the ceiling. Too small for me. Maybe for Lowell. I knelt to her level. Listen to me. If it comes to it, we will get that boy out of here no matter what it takes. Do you hear me? She nodded, tears streaming down her face. The pounding grew louder. Then it stopped. Too suddenly. Too quietly. I held my breath, listening. Nothing. Silence heavy enough to press on my skin. Then we heard footsteps walking away from the door. Slow. Unhurried. Neria whispered. Where is he going? I shook my head. I don't know. Downstairs, something crashed again. The sound of a struggle. Then Cassius shouting something we couldn't make out. Another man yelling. A punch. A thud. Something breaking. Then one voice rose above the others. The scarred man. Bring the grandmother down here. Neria gasped. They want you. Why would Cassius tell them about you? I felt myself go cold inside. My life had been messy, but it had been peaceful. Quiet. Predictable. I worked, I cooked, I went to bed early. I helped with grandkids when my children dropped them off too tired to handle anything else. I had lived 56 years without being hunted. But now, someone downstairs wanted me. By name. The footsteps came back toward our bedroom. Harder. Faster. Then stopped right outside the door. Silence again. Then the scarred man said, Open this door, Marvette. You and I need to talk. I tightened my grip on the knife. Not happening. His voice grew smoother, colder. You have something we want. Something Cassius owes us. Neria's fingers dug into my arm. What are they talking about? I shook my head. I don't know. I don't know anything about this. The scarred man leaned close to the door. Marvette, let me explain something to you. If you do not open this door in the next 10 seconds, I will set this entire house on fire. With all of you still inside. A rush of terror shot through me. Neria gasped. Lowell whimpered. The man counted, slow and steady. 1, 2, 3, 4. My eyes darted around the room. No exits. No weapons besides the knife. A dresser keeping the door closed, but not for long. 5, 6, 7. I stood there frozen. My pulse throbbed in my throat. 8. Neria whispered. What do we do? 9. I did not answer. Because one horrible thought had just passed through my mind. What if Cassius had not told me the full truth yet? What if he owed these men something far worse than I imagined? What if I was the payment? The scarred man's voice lowered to a deadly whisper. 10. Open the door, Marvette. Or burn with the rest of them. I lifted the knife, my hand trembling. Because I knew once I made this next choice, nothing in my life would ever go back to normal. I stood there in that small bedroom with the knife shaking in my hand, listening to the scarred man's last word hang in the air like a match ready to drop. Burn. Neria pressed Lowell's face into her shoulder to keep him from hearing. But he heard. Children always hear the things they shouldn't. His small fingers curled into her shirt, trembling. The scarred man waited. Waited like he already knew what I would do. But before I made a choice, before my shaking hand touched the dresser blocking the door, the sound of Cassius's voice exploded through the house. Marvette, don't open that door. A crash followed, then someone groaning in pain. Another punch. Something metal falling. The scarred man kicked the door again. Open it, woman. I felt like I was standing inside two versions of myself. One that was terrified. And one that was finally tired of being afraid of men who hid secrets in the dark. I wasn't sure which one would win. Neria grabbed my arm. Don't open it, he's lying. Cassius told me these men don't negotiate. But Cassius had lied too. The truth in this house was bent like a broken bone. The scarred man spoke again. Marvette, you want the truth, I'll give you one. Cassius didn't just save this woman and boy. He stole from us. And he used your name to do it. My heart dropped. My name. The man laughed, low and cruel. That's right. He used your credit, your accounts, your clean record. He made deals with your identity. And now we're here to collect what's ours. Neria's mouth opened in shock. Cassius did what? But I couldn't speak. All I could think about were the papers Cassius asked me to sign the week before the wedding. Small things, he said. Just routine documents, he said. For the marriage license, he said. For the house paperwork, he said. My stomach twisted. Had he used me? Used my whole life? Cassius shouted again from below. Marvette, don't listen to him, they're lying. Then a sickening sound. A groan. Something heavy falling. The house shuddered with the struggle. The scarred man's voice turned dark. You want to save your husband, he has 1 minute before we end this whole thing. Then he took out something metal and loud clicked it against the door. A lighter. Neria gasped. No, 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 Lowell is in here, please. The scarred man didn't care. These men didn't care about anything human. Not love. Not marriage. Not children. I felt something inside me harden. A place that had been soft for too many years. Neria whispered. What are we going to do? I whispered back. We're not dying in this room. The man flicked the lighter. A small flame glowed under the crack of the door. Then I heard fire catching. Something dry. Something placed there ahead of time. That was when I understood. They came prepared to burn the whole house down. Neria screamed. Marvette. I didn't think. I ran to the small window high near the ceiling. I dragged a chair under it and climbed up. The fire smell was growing stronger. Neria asked. Can we get out through there? I looked out. The window opened onto the side roof above the back porch. It was steep, but wide enough. Below it, first floor. We could jump if we had to. I pushed the window up with my shoulder until it squeaked open. Cold air rushed in. But then the door shook violently. The scarred man was ramming it now. Hard. Neria screamed again. He's breaking in. I grabbed Lowell from her arms. Come on. I'll go first. Hand him to me. But Neria hesitated. Her eyes searched mine, frantic. What if you fall? I looked at the child in my arms. Then at the smoke beginning to slip under the door. Then at the woman shaking beside me. I said, falling is better than burning. She handed me Lowell with shaking hands. He clung to my neck like he knew the world was breaking apart around us. I lifted him through the window first, guiding his little feet onto the roof. He whimpered. It's cold. I whispered. I know, baby. Stay low. Don't stand up. The door behind us cracked. Wood splintered. Neria climbed onto the chair next, but before she could lift her second leg through the window, the bedroom door burst open with a violent crash. The dresser slid across the floor as the scarred man kicked it away. He stepped inside, breathing hard, holding something metal in his hand. A gun. Black. Cold. Pointed straight at me. Neria screamed. No, please. I pushed Lowell fully onto the roof. Go to the corner, baby. Crawl. He obeyed, crying softly. The scarred man didn't even look at Neria. His eyes were on me. Marvette. You're coming with me. Right now. I shook my head slowly, one leg slipping through the window frame. No. I'm not. He took a step closer, raising the gun. Don't test me. I heard footsteps pounding up the stairs behind him. Someone approaching. Fast. Cassius's voice roared. Get away from my wife. The scarred man turned slightly. It was just a glance. But it was enough. I shoved myself through the window, landing hard on the roof, scraping my knees on the shingles. Neria tried to follow, but the man grabbed the back of her shirt and yanked her down. She screamed. Lowell screamed. Mama. Cassius grabbed the scarred man from behind, tackling him. The gun fell. All three bodies crashed against the bed. Neria scrambled toward the window, but another intruder appeared in the hallway. A second man. A different gun. Pointed at her. I grabbed Lowell and crawled fast along the roof, praying Neria could get free. But when she reached the window, she stopped. Frozen. Terrified. Because the second man aimed the gun directly at her heart. And then he said the words that tore everything apart. You leave this room, and your son dies first. Neria cried out in a sound so raw it made my skin burn. No, please God, no. Behind her, Cassius shouted. Neria, don't listen to him. But the second man cocked the gun. Stay. Right. There. Smoke filled the room. The fire was growing fast. Cassius and the scarred man fought wildly on the floor. And Neria, the woman I barely knew, the mother holding everything together by one thin breath. She looked at her boy through the window, at his small hands, at his wet cheeks, and she whispered, I'm sorry, baby. Then she stepped back inside. The man slammed the window shut, right in my face, locking her in, separating her from her child, from me, from any escape at all. Lowell screamed into my shoulder. Mama, mama, no. I held him tight, my chest breaking. Neria. Inside the room I heard Cassius shout. No. Then a shot exploded. One. Then another. I didn't know who had been hit. I didn't know if Neria was still alive. I didn't know if Cassius was standing or lying in his own blood. But I knew this. The fire was spreading. The men were armed. The house was falling apart. And I had to get this boy out alive. No matter what. Even if everyone else was already gone. The cold air hit my face as I crawled along the slanted roof, clutching Lowell as tight as I could without hurting him. His tears soaked into my nightgown. His small hands dug into my shoulders. The house behind us groaned under the weight of the fire, the smoke rolling out of the broken window like a dark, angry breath. Neria was inside. Cassius was inside. And I had no idea who was still standing. Lowell cried into my neck. Mama, mama. I whispered. I know, baby. I know. I won't let anything happen to you. I promise. But inside me, a voice trembled. How do you keep a promise like that? How does a woman like me outrun armed men and a burning house at the same time? The roof shingles were rough against my knees, scraping my skin raw. I looked toward the edge. Below us was a drop that made my stomach twist. Not high enough to kill, but high enough to break bone. Lowell looked up at me with trembling lips. Is Mama coming? I swallowed hard. She's trying, baby. She's trying her best. But even as the words left my mouth, I heard the fire crackling louder. Heard something fall inside the bedroom. Heard a scream cut off by smoke. We had seconds. I reached the edge of the roof and saw the ground below. Grass. A patch of dirt. A bush that might break a fall. I whispered to Lowell. Baby, I need you to listen to me carefully. When we jump, you close your eyes and hold on to my neck tight. Tight as you can. Okay. He nodded, tears streaming down his cheeks. I'm scared. Me too, baby. Me too. But we're doing it anyway. That was the strength only a mother could teach. He wrapped his little arms around me and buried his face in my shoulder. I took a deep breath. 1, 2. A loud scream came from inside the burning room. Neria. God. Neria. 3. I pushed off the edge. We fell. Fast. The wind punched against my face. The ground flew toward us. I twisted midair so I would hit the ground first. My back slammed into the dirt with a force that knocked the breath out of me. Pain exploded from my spine to my ribs. My head spun. But Lowell was safe. His legs straddled my waist. His arms locked around my neck. I coughed, struggling to pull in a breath. "Are you okay, baby?" He nodded, crying. "Marv, Marv." He was calling me by the nickname Neria taught him. That alone nearly broke me. I stood, holding him tight. My legs shook. But I moved. Because we had no choice. The fire roared louder behind us. Flames danced in the windows. Smoke rolled into the sky like a black signal telling the whole world danger was here. We had to run. Now. I sprinted toward the backyard gate, barefoot on cold dirt. Lowell bounced against my shoulder with every step, but he clung to me fiercely. When I reached the wooden gate, I pulled it open with shaking fingers. But before I stepped through, I froze. A dark shape stood in the side yard, still, watching. Then another shape stepped beside it, tall, broad, their shoulders like brick walls. 2 more of the men. Not the scarred man. Not the one with the gun in the hallway. New ones. Back up. Waiting. They turned toward us slowly. Their faces empty. Their eyes locked on me like I was prey that had made the mistake of thinking it could escape. My heart slammed against my ribs. No. 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 Lowell looked up. "Who are they?" I whispered. "Bad men. Baby. Very bad men." The one on the left stepped forward. His voice was deep, cold, controlled. "Give us the boy, Miss Holloway. You don't want to make this harder." Lowell buried his face against my chest, shaking. "No, no." I stepped back, closing the gate halfway between us. "You're not taking him." The other man cocked his head. "You think you can outrun us? You're 60, woman. 60. The insult hit me like a slap. But it also lit a fire inside me stronger than the one burning the house. I said, "I'm 56. And I'm not dead yet." The man stepped closer. "We don't need you. We only need the boy. You give him to us, and we walk away." Lowell's small fingers dug into my shoulder. "Don't let them take me, Marv, don't let them." I pulled him tighter. "I'm right here. I'm not letting go. I didn't care if they shot me. I didn't care if they buried me right there. This boy wasn't leaving my arms." The man sighed like he was tired of waiting. "Last chance. Hand him over." Then smoke burst from the house behind them. Glass shattered. A loud crash echoed. Cassius stumbled out of the back door, coughing violently, covered in soot, one side of his face bleeding. Alive. Barely. Behind him, flames climbed the walls. He saw me. Saw Lowell. Saw the 2 men. His eyes widened. "Marvette, run." Then he collapsed to his knees. The men turned toward him briefly, and in that tiny moment, I grabbed Lowell's hand and bolted toward the woods behind the property. I didn't think. Didn't plan. Just ran. Branches whipped my legs. Leaves slapped my face. My lungs burned. Lowell stumbled beside me, crying but running. Behind us, one man shouted. They're headed toward the woods. Get them. Their footsteps spilled into the yard. Fast. Heavy. I ran harder, gripping Lowell's hand so tight he stumbled. But I would drag him if I had to. I would carry him until my legs gave out. Up ahead, the woods thickened. Dark. Cold. But it was cover. It was hope. Lowell screamed. "Marv, they're coming." I heard them. Branches snapping. Boots hitting the ground. Closer and closer. But then I saw it. A small cabin at the edge of the woods. Old. Abandoned. But still standing. We sprinted toward it. every nerve in my body screaming. When we reached the door, I turned the rusty knob. Locked. Footsteps thundered behind us. Voices shouting. Lowell whimpered. "Marv, please." I stepped back, lifted my foot, and kicked the door with everything left in my body. It burst open. We ran inside. I slammed it behind us and slid the old metal bolt across. The cabin was dark. Dust everywhere. But it was shelter. Lowell clung to my leg. "Are we safe?" Outside, I heard the men approaching. One of them stopped right in front of the door. Then his voice came through the cracks. "There's nowhere left to run, Marvette. And you have something that belongs to us." Lowell began to cry harder. But I put a hand on his cheek and whispered, "No, baby. You belong to no one. And they're not getting through that door. Even if they kill me first. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for a child who had nobody else left in the world. And I wasn't about to lose him." The cabin was cold enough to make Lowell's teeth chatter, but I didn't care about the cold. I cared about the footsteps outside. Slow. Heavy. Circling. Like wolves scenting a wounded deer. Lowell held onto my waist, shaking so hard I felt it through my bones. "Marv, are they coming in?" I bent down and cupped his small face in both of my hands. "Not while I'm standing here, baby. Not while I'm breathing." He nodded, though his eyes were wide with fear. Outside, one of the men tapped the wooden door with something metal. Tap, tap, tap. The sound slithered through the room. Then he said, "You're not getting out of this woods alive. Neither of you." Lowell whimpered. I pulled him behind me and scanned the cabin. It was empty. A broken table. A rusted lantern. Cobwebs thick enough to look like fabric. No phone. No exit except the door we just locked. I pressed my back against the door and closed my eyes. I needed to think. Fast. The men stepped away from the cabin and began whispering to each other. I couldn't hear all their words, but one sentence slid through the cracks in the wall clear as day. "If we can't get the boy, we take the woman. She knows too much." My stomach dropped. They didn't just want Lowell. They wanted me too. Lowell tugged on my sleeve. "Marv, where is Mama?" The question stabbed me in the chest. I thought of Neria standing in that smoke-filled room, trying to protect her boy. I thought of the way she stepped back inside, choosing danger over watching Lowell die. Her last look. Her last scream. I swallowed the lump rising in my throat. "She's fighting, baby. She's trying to get back to you." He buried his face in my side. "I want Mama." I held him tight. "I know. We're going to find her." But in that moment, I didn't know if I was lying. The men outside started moving again. Closer. Crunching leaves. Snapping twigs. Pacing like they were studying the cabin. Then something metallic sounded. A canister. A lighter. Smoke seeped under the bottom crack of the door. Not fire smoke. A chemical smell. Sharp. My heart jumped. Neria's voice echoed in my memory. "They came to burn the house down." Lowell coughed, grabbing his throat. "It stinks." I swept him off the ground and moved him deeper into the cabin. These men were trying to smoke us out. Lowell held onto my neck. "Marv, I'm scared." I put my hand on the back of his head. "I know, baby. But you hold on to me. Okay, I'm right here. Always." My mind raced. We needed an exit. A window. A hole. Anything. Then I saw it. Behind an old shelf leaning sideways against the wall was a trapdoor. Barely visible. Covered in dust. My heart jumped. A crawl space. Maybe an escape. I rushed to it and pulled. It opened with a long, painful creak. Below was darkness. Dirt. Cold air drifting upward like breath from the earth. Lowell whispered, "Where does it go?" I shook my head. I don't know. But it's better than waiting here for them. The footsteps outside got louder. Then the scarred man's voice echoed through the trees. She's inside the cabin. The orders changed. We take her alive. Alive. Something about the way he said it felt worse than death. I grabbed Lowell's hand. We're going. Now. He nodded, wiping tears with his arm. I lowered him into the crawl space first. He whimpered when his feet touched the cold dirt. But he was small. He fit easily. I followed next, pulling the trapdoor almost shut behind us, leaving only a sliver of space so we could breathe. As the cabin grew dark, we heard the men approaching the door. Their boots. Their voices. Then a hard kick shook the entire room above us. Lowell whispered, "They're here." I held his hand. "Stay quiet. No matter what." The cabin door exploded inward. Men stormed inside. Their shadows crossed the floor above our heads. A voice shouted, "Search everything. She's here." She couldn't have gotten far. My heart hammered so loud I was sure they would hear it. Dirt fell from between the floorboards overhead. One man dragged furniture. Another flipped the broken table. Another slammed open a closet full of dust. Then footsteps walked right toward the trapdoor. I clutched Lowell to my chest. Everything inside me went still. The man stomped on the wood panel above us. The board bent. Cracked. I held my breath so tightly my vision blurred. But someone outside shouted, "Hey, we found something." The man above us paused. Then turned away, walking out of the cabin. I did not move. Not even when my leg cramped. Not even when Lowell whispered, "Marv, my tummy hurts." I rubbed his back gently. "I know, baby. I know. Be strong a little bit longer." The men searched outside again. Their voices grew fainter. For the first time in hours, my lungs finally loosened. We waited. And waited. The woods settled into silence. The night breathed again. And then, out of nowhere, I heard a weak, broken voice calling through the trees. "Marvette. Marvette. Are you alive?" I froze. Lowell looked up. "That sounds like Cassius." His voice cracked with pain. With desperation. With fear. I whispered to Lowell, "Stay here. Don't move." He grabbed my sleeve. "Don't leave me, no." I squeezed his hand. "I'm not leaving you, baby. I'm just looking." I crawled up and eased the trapdoor open just enough to see outside. To the left. Woods. Dark. Empty. To the right. A shadow limping toward the cabin. Stumbling. Bleeding. Holding his side. Cassius. Barely able to stand. One eye swollen shut. Blood running down his arm. He whispered again, "Marvette, please answer me." I crawled out completely and helped Lowell climb up. Cassius staggered closer. But instead of relief, a cold fear twisted inside me. Something in his eyes was wrong. Not just pain. Something else. Something he was holding back. He reached us, falling to his knees. Breathing hard. Barely conscious. "Marvette, thank God. You're alive." I didn't step closer. I didn't reach out. I just stared at him. "Cassius. Where is Neria?" He froze. His jaw tightening. His gaze dropping to the ground. Lowell whispered, "Where is my mama?" Cassius flinched. He swallowed hard. Then he said quietly, "She didn't make it." "I'm sorry, baby." Lowell screamed. Fell to his knees. Cried so hard his whole body shook. I knelt beside him, holding him tight. My heart breaking. My chest splitting apart. And yet, something in Cassius's voice felt off. A lie. A half-truth. A hidden corner. I stood slowly and faced Cassius. My voice steady. Cold. Sharp. "Cassius. You're not telling the whole truth. He closed his eyes. A tear slid down his cheek. Marvette, if I tell you the whole truth, you'll never forgive me. I stepped closer, staring straight into the man I married less than 24 hours ago. Then tell me anyway. Because after tonight, I deserve to know exactly what kind of man I really married. Cassius lowered his head like a man walking into his own grave. The night wind blew across the clearing, trembling through the trees, carrying the last smoke from the burning house behind us. Lowell was curled against my side, his small body still shaking from the news Cassius had just given him. But I wasn't done. Not until every lie was dragged into the light. Cassius, I said softly, start talking. He wiped blood from his mouth and tried to breathe normally, but pain twisted every breath. Marvette, please, not here. We have to go. Those men will come back. I shook my head. No, they won't. Listen. The forest had grown still. Too still. No footsteps. No shouts. No voices hunting us. Whatever had happened inside that burning house had swallowed the worst of those men. Cassius looked around, confused. Where are they? I stepped closer, my voice low. Tell me the truth before the law gets here. Because after everything you've dragged me through, you owe me that much. He tried to stand straighter, but his body shook. Fine. You want it. Here it is. He looked at Lowell first, then at the dirt, then at the sky. Anywhere but at me. I didn't just save Neria and her son, he said. I hid them because I owed their father. Lowell lifted his head, his voice tiny. My papa. Cassius nodded weakly. Your father saved my life years ago. Those men you saw tonight, they were hunting me first. I got mixed up in things I should have never touched. But your father stepped in and put himself in danger to get me out. And he paid the price. Lowell's lip trembled. Where is my papa? Cassius's voice broke. He didn't make it. Lowell cried into my side again. And I felt something inside me tighten. Anger, grief, something fierce. Cassius continued. Your father's last words were that I had to protect you and your mother. So I did. I ran with them. I kept moving. But the only way to hide them was to take things that didn't belong to me. I folded my arms. My name. He nodded slowly. I'm sorry, Marvette. I needed a clean identity to rent safe houses, buy supplies, transfer money without being tracked. I knew I was wrong. I knew I was dragging you into something dark. But I promised myself I'd fix it all before the wedding. I just didn't finish in time. My voice quivered with anger. You married me while these people were hunting you. You married me knowing they'd come for you. Cassius lowered his head. I was trying to start over. I wanted a real life again, Marvette. I was tired of running. I just didn't expect them to find us so fast. Everything in me wanted to scream. But then Lowell spoke up in a tiny voice. What about my mama? Is she really gone? Cassius closed his eyes tightly. I tried to get her out. I swear to you. She was alive when I left the house fighting those men. But when I came back, she wasn't breathing. Lowell cried louder. I hugged him, rubbing his back, trying to pour into him every ounce of strength I had left. I said quietly, Cassius, whether you meant to or not, you destroyed my life. My peace. My home. He whispered. I know. And if you want nothing to do with me, if you leave me right here, I won't blame you. Good. Because that's exactly what I planned to do. But before I could reply, flashlights cut through the trees. Voices. Radios. The pounding feet of law enforcement coming through the woods. Lowell stiffened. Marv. Is that the bad men? I shook my head. No, baby. These are the people who can help us now. 3 police officers stepped into the clearing, guns drawn, shouting. Hands where we can see them. I raised both hands, gently lifting Lowell's arm too. We're victims. Please. This child needs help. 2 officers rushed to Lowell and wrapped him in a blanket they carried in their kit. He clung to me while they checked him over. Another officer approached Cassius, who was barely conscious at this point. Sir, stay still. We're calling paramedics. Cassius whispered. Marvette. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't say a word. Not to him. Because sorry didn't fix a broken child. Sorry didn't erase lies. Sorry didn't bring Neria back. They carried Lowell and me out of the woods. We were placed in an ambulance. The flashing lights turned the trees blue and red. As they checked my ribs and burns, one officer leaned closer. Ma'am, we found something inside the cabin. Something you'll want to hear. My breath caught. What? He pulled out something small. A folded paper. Smoke-stained. We found this under a floorboard, he said. It has your name on it. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a short note written in hurried, shaky handwriting. Marvette. If you're reading this, it means I didn't make it. Please take care of my baby. Please tell him I fought for him. Please tell him I loved him every second of his life. And please, don't let Cassius carry the boy alone. You have a good heart. He needs someone strong. Neria. The pain hit me so hard I had to close my eyes. Lowell leaned against me, exhausted, trembling. And I held him close. In that moment, my purpose became clear. Not revenge. Not hate. Not anger. Something stronger. Steadier. A kind of love made from fire and survival. I whispered. I've got you, baby. I've got you for as long as you need me. The officer nodded with respect, as if he understood the weight of what I had just promised. Behind us, I heard Cassius being loaded into another ambulance. But I didn't turn around. Not once. Some endings don't deserve a final look. Because surviving wasn't my victory. Rising was. And taking that child with me, that was the quiet kind of revenge that mattered most. The kind that heals the old wounds. The kind that outlives every lie. The kind that builds a new life from ashes. Now. Before the next chapter of my life begins, if you're watching this right now, make sure you like this video, tap the subscribe button, and turn on your notifications so you never miss another powerful story. And tell me where you're watching from in the comments. I want to know exactly who sat with me through this storm. Because this isn't just a story. This is a reminder that even after the worst night of your life, you can still rise.